Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Jeanette Camping from Henry Stewart Events and we are delighted you've joined us for our latest Creative Ops webinar. We're pleased to have over 100 professionals registered for Freelancer Management, how to control the chaos and find harmony in the gig economy. At the end of the presentation, we'll take some questions, so please send them through via your GoToWebinar column. And we are recording the webinar and you'll all be sent a link to the recording tomorrow. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Sean O'Connell from Screen Dragon. Welcome, Sean, and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Jeanette. It's become such a huge area, in particular in 2019, as we move through discovering definitions with our clients. It's become such an integral part of all organizations in terms of, I suppose, propping up their overall headcount. And the same, I suppose, issues come up around freelance management from all organizations. So what we've done today is really pick, I suppose, the top areas, the top issues that people have, and we'll look to go through those here. So we've broken it down into a couple of key things. First and foremost, what we're going to look at here is how people request freelancers within an organization. So looking at the process of doing that it's centralized. You can see all requests coming in and be able to strategize in terms of who you're hiring and when within here. We're also then going to look at getting those freelancers up and running very, very quickly. And this is one area I think that consistently comes up with when we speak to our clients is a freelancer will be hired. They'll quite a lot of the times they're coming on site, will be there in the first morning and can't get into the building, first and foremost, may not have a login to systems or have a laptop or a desk or whatever the case may be. So actually, that's very, I suppose, tangible stuff in terms of getting set up for your freelancers. Others is that do you have the work lined up and ready to go for them as well within there. So that will lead us on to, integrating your freelancers seamlessly into your workforce so that when they do come in and begin work, you hit the ground running. As I said, they become productive straight away, and they are fully part of your team in terms of they feel part of your team, and also from a reporting point of view and a visibility point of view, they're not being dealt with in some kind of siloed way. We'll then look at as contracts come to an end with freelancers, how do we offboard them as efficiently as we got them onboarded, and ensuring then do we want to rehire them, and looking at that kind of side of things in terms of ranking, I suppose, your freelancers as they come in and out. As I said, we'll take some time for questions as well towards the end of this, and Fergal will pop in with your questions as well towards the end of this. So we're trying to, I suppose, bring it down to these key areas that consistently come up as we speak to our clients. And the first part of this is very much around requesting freelancers. And from the clients, as we speak to organizations, it is from a working level. It's who can I ask to hire freelancers? Where do I go? How do I ask for freelancers? What information is needed? When do I ask for freelancers? So is there a certain period of time before a project starts that I need to have a request in, or is it a last minute kind of thing that I'm now looking for a resource? And that really that timing really comes in, being able to know, well, what availability do we have? Do we actually need freelancers? Do we have availability in-house already? And I suppose one of the big, talking points in the last year and a half, as we talk with organizations, is the ability that within an organization, location should no longer be a barrier internally for talent. So, we may have an organization of 5-10 offices. Do we have people in other offices that are available to do this work, which would negate the need for freelancers as well? So while today's session will really look at day-to-day, getting your freelancers in, getting them onboarded, routing work to them and offboarding them. There is also an element of looking at the need for freelancers as well, and do you have all of the information in front of you to make an informed decision around needing a freelancer as well. So that's what we're looking to cover around those requests. And I suppose the answer to this that I suppose we generally talk quite a lot about is, if you're going to implement a system around this, you need a central system that all departments across your organization can access. So this can't be just creative or just studio can look for freelancers and no one else is going to be able to access this system. It's got to be organization wide in terms of requesting that. The routing itself, when a hire is asked for, needs to be pretty smart, and it needs to go to the right people. And that touches a little bit on what we just spoke about. Does resource management get involved here and be able to say, well, hey, I see you're looking for somebody with these skills in this area to work with this client. Actually, we have somebody internally that can do this, and with some rejigging, we've got availability for them already to handle this, so that they will get a heads up around the requests that are coming in for freelancers to again assess whether the need is really there. It can also come down to different departments, different clients needing to approve requests coming in from a budgetary point of view, as much as anything else. So all of that can be handled in an internal request. The final part of this is that you have that core, I suppose, area to be able to see all of these requests easily. A dashboard of what's our portfolio of freelancers, who have we got, and as we move through this and look at other areas, it's seeing past reviews, past comments made about them within here as well. So that's very much around getting your freelancers, I suppose, solution-wise to getting that central system. And I'll show you a little bit of this towards the end of the call. I think today we really want to, I suppose, talk through what we see as opposed to being purely, in any way demo focused, I think, on this. So once you have got those requests in and they have been approved, and those requests will take all of your NDAs, etc., into account as well, you now have your contract coming on board and you need to set these people up. And again, as we talk to the organizations we work with, we've really bucketed the inefficiencies in terms of people hitting the ground working into 3 key buckets. And they are the initial setup. We talked a little bit around, the real tangible stuff: desks, phones, emails, logins, etc. All of that, I suppose, real stuff that you need to be part of an organization. The second part of this is work, and actually physically having the work that your freelancers need to do lined up. And that is, what assignments or briefs are they going to work on? Do they have the information around how you as an organization work, the process? So once they do complete some of their work, what are they supposed to do with it? Where do they send it? That kind of information needs to be within here. Who are they working with? And I did a system quite recently around this where even the first part of this, the setup, that the desk is in the right part of the building, that these people are going to be sitting near a team they're working with, even to that point of ensuring this kind of information is this attention to detail is accurate, so that it's going to create greater efficiency here. And the final part of this is integrating them into your organization. And what we get a lot of, and talk to a lot of freelancers now as part of organizations, is that freelancers are no longer just an add-on to supplement your organization. They're key cog in this, as we said, chaotic world that we all operate in. But freelancers want to feel part of the organizations that they work for as well. And one of the takeaways that we see in terms of maybe freelancers, as the market gets more and more competitive for freelancers, they choose not to come back to some organizations as much as organizations choose not to rehire. And we've seen the number two reason, and it's often been cited as people not coming back to an organization, is that they didn't feel part of it. They weren't integrated into the culture. So things such as meet and greets, have they been organized? Are they on the right distribution list? Do they know where their standing meetings are going to be? And general socialization into the organization is crucial to keeping them happy and keeping them as a really fixed part of your organization for the term of their contract. The number one reason actually is not getting paid on time, so I thought I'd throw that in there. So that's generally what comes back from that point of view. But in terms of hitting the ground running here and getting all of this set up, it's quite a straightforward process, and we've tried to break this down, I suppose, as simply as possible to say that, well, when a request is made, who needs to get involved? And for the most part, it's these four key stakeholders. It is finance, it is IT, it's your office services, and it's your HR, your talent management within here as well. So that when the request for a freelancer comes through and they're looking to begin work, finance need to sort out the contracts, they need to sort out the billing rates, IT need to sort out the access, whether that's single sign-on, emails, etc. Your office services, as we spoke on, need to sort out the locational side of things, and then your HR, your talent management, that's getting your contracts, your NDAs, etc. in place. So it's being able to route to these people quite intelligently to make sure that, hey, actually there is no point in saying that we're good to go and this person can come in and start work if they've no login, if the finance side of things hasn't been sorted, or if they're going to walk in the door of an office and there's actually nowhere for them to sit. It doesn't present your organization in a good light if these things aren't organized in advance. So we're looking at making these things as simple as possible, that all stakeholders within your organization get notified that this is happening. We're bringing somebody on board. Here are the tasks that you've got to do. Please, update your checklist and be accountable for the work that you need to do. And obviously, it all will come back to HR at the end of this to say, okay, we're good to go with this person. So this is a very simplified, I suppose, version of the workflows that we work through with all of the organizations that we manage the freelancers for. Within each of these buckets, your finance, IT, etc., there is nuances in there in terms of what information needs to be captured, etc. in here as well. But for the most part, I think this is a very good representation of what you need to do to onboard your freelancers. Once they're in and beginning to work for you, it's then about, as I spoke, integrating them with your general workforce. And that has a couple of key areas in here. One is, I suppose, there is quite a modular approach to freelancer management out there, and that is that, hey, they can do their timesheets in system A, they will send their invoices to system B, they will look for their resourcing in C and catch their briefing somewhere else, and that modular approach is pretty common. I think it's been broken down now, and from what we've seen, certainly the financial transaction side of things, the financial systems rule the organizations, and they're never going to be replaced. So from a financial transaction point of view, your invoicing, etc., we feel that needs to hold and always be your system of record. But outside of that, freelancers need to be part of your core project management system so that you can assign them to your projects, and their views need to be restricted. We understand that, to their individual tasks within there. If you have a brand repository, and that's your brand guidelines, if they're maybe more creative focused, your fonts, logos, etc., it's ensuring that they've got access to everything they need within there, and that your DAM system or your files area are all set up to be able to allow that limited access to them. Also, the approval processes. So as in particular, if they're working in the creative side of things, that the work that they do is being approved, that this links into your general approval process. And this is not just to make life easy for the freelancer, but it's also for the approvers of this, that the approval process they're coming through them are the exact same as they would with full-time staff. There's no difference between them. They look and feel the exact same. And the final part of this, and it's a major area, and this is the one I think that the most value comes in terms of looking at freelancers, is your resourcing. It needs to be a holistic view of all of your headcount in an organization. So you do need them in wherever you are doing your resourcing. Your freelancers need to be part of that as well. You need to know what your capacity is, including these freelance workers, not having them, I suppose, siloed apart, that your full-time headcount is at 90%, but your freelancers are at 30. It's a bit mixed match there, and I think to have everyone from a resourcing point of view in one system is vital. Absolutely vital, and we'll look at that integration side of things in terms of having everyone within the one system. This, I suppose, allows you to plan and scenario plan. I'm spending a bit of time on the resourcing side because I think when people talk to us about freelancers, it is the key area in terms of first of all, how do we know? And we spoke right at the start of this call of how do we know that we need freelancers? And that's down to capacity planning, that the work that you've got in your pipeline for the next 6 months, 12 months, whatever the case may be, can you start to scenario plan against that and see that, well, actually, if everything that we're pitching for right now comes in, we're going to be at 120, 130, 140% of capacity, and we're going to need freelancers. So can we start some of these processes in place to ensure that we've got people lined up if they're needed within here? So it's that type of joined up intelligence that the freelancers you've already got on your books, they're already in there, part of your capacity across the system. Once you've done that and you've assigned your work out, and I will show you how this can look and feel from a freelancer point of view, you also then need to look at, well, offboarding them towards the end of this, and are they suitable for rehire? So, and getting that feedback from your management staff. And from an offboarding point of view, it is absolutely the exact same as onboarding. In terms of a process, that, hey, if everything that you've done in terms of finance, IT, office, etc., there's probably a corresponding task to offboard them. So again, if you've given them a desk and given them login access, etc., it needs to be undone. And again, tracking that and that accountability for ensuring that they are being offboarded safely. And that's a huge thing around, I suppose, security of data, that if you are bringing them into your technology suite, that they are back out as quick as you need them out of there as well. So I suppose the process side of things, I'm not really going to focus on too much here, but the offboarding task checklist, I alluded to this earlier, have all invoices been paid for this person, and that really is around ensuring that these people will want to work for your organization again. They will want to come back, and the next time a contract comes up, they're happy to come back. And as I said, it's the top reason in terms of where freelancers don't go back to organizations. Line managers completing a simple evaluation form, and that can be as simple or as sophisticated as you need it to be, but it can be simple ranking out of 10 for different areas of their skills, ranking their skills as well within there, so that as you rehire people over and over again, you get a good sense of where their skills are. I suppose freelancers will always rank themselves quite highly in terms of their abilities. From a feedback from your line managers, you're going to get that information truly through here. And it is about getting all of those evaluations into one place, because again, different contracts, they're going to be working for different line managers, and this knowledge can often live in different people's head. They don't record it anywhere. Whereas if you have a core system that will record these feedbacks, it means you know exactly where to go. You've got your freelancer records. You can go back in and see everybody's feedback on them as well, and all other information, all of their contracts, all of their NDAs that's signed, etc. So all of that, including their availability, can be kept within those records. So from an overview point of view, that's what we see from very high level. What clients have trouble with, it is getting them set up in the first place, making sure they hit the ground running, and at the far side, being able to offboard them just as efficiently, but make sure that we capture the information we need to assess whether we want to rehire them as well, and obviously put the best our best foot forward in terms of how we look as an organization when we hire them. So what I want to do is briefly show you how this can look in terms of in terms of a system. How can this look and feel within here? So I'm going to just briefly pop up a quick run through of this. Now it's going to be very, very high level stuff. I'm not going to get into massive detail here. And I suppose if you have any kind of further questions or want to get into more detail on this, we'll be happy to do it with anybody individually. So from a system perspective, what you're seeing here is on the screen, you've got a freelancer request. So that first part that we spoke about, which is, hey, I need to be able to come in and fill out a central form to hire my freelancers within here. So if I click on create new here, this will launch that form, and these can be completely customizable to any organization's data. So again, what departments am I requesting this from? You know, what type of resource am I looking for within here? Do I need specific skills, industry sector, etc. within here? And what are my day-to-day needs? And this is vital in terms of, you know, are we looking for someone for a particular client? Is it a particular project within here? Location wise, who will be their direct manager coming in here? So I can go and find my direct manager within here. Estimated start and end dates, and, you know, hours per week that we need, and what's the maximum bill rate that I can absorb here as part of this freelance hire. This view here will show you then across the board what are all of the requests coming in. So from a central point of view, you can manage and say, hey, these are the description of the needs that we've got coming in. They're looking for very specific skills, and these are the rough dates. So it allows your core HR team to collate all this data in one place within here. Once you create one of these, and I will kind of show you how once you create one of these requests, that can then move through that process. So we spoke earlier around being able to send this directly through to HR, etc. within here. It will move through HR. They can approve or decline this request as needed. Once they approve it, and let's hope they all approve your request, you would have a central freelancer record module. And this is who are all of our freelancers, and we've set this up with some very limited information. We can have as much or as little information as you need here, which is what role did they perform, what's their current status, and their overall rating coming through here as well. If I click into one of these, it'll have your core information around your freelancer. So who is this person? What's their location? And now we're starting to look at your contracts within each of these individuals. So how many contracts has Anna had within here? For example, we can see Anna's had 4 different contracts. 2 are active, 1 offboarding is happening right now, another one was complete, and that was back in the end of July. So very quickly you can see across Anna, these are all of the contracts that are have ever existed for her within her record. And what these individual contracts, this ties into when we talk about onboarding and offboarding and how that works. We know some key information within here. This may be an amendment to an existing contract, for example, within here. We've got our start dates within here, etc. So I can say very quickly, I need somebody in there for a week, and I'll give a full description of what I'm looking for within here. Once I submit that through into the system, what that will do is this will show me in terms of left and right, here's the information you captured about this particular contract, and it's gone to the resource manager who's going to look and see if there's a need for this to happen. If they're happy, they can update the existing contract first and foremost, go in, amend details maybe as they need, and say, hey, we're happy for this to proceed within here, so just say happy and move this on. And this will ping finance to say, hey, this has been approved by resourcing, they're happy for us to move on with this, and finance can then come in and actually update their information that they need to do. So again, that process we spoke about earlier, being able to come in and say, hey, look, we're agreeing a rate on this of $180, tax ID information, who's going to approve their timesheets, for example, all of that information being captured within here. And this will move through the process that we spoke about earlier very quickly to be able to say, okay, finance have done what they need to do. They've ticked off the boxes, and they're going to send this to IT, who need to, complete their requirements within here. So again, your IT, it's this kind of information. Have you given them a key fob? Do they need a desk? If they do, cool. What desk number are you assigning to them? So it's real tangible information that you're capturing as you move through this. Do they need network access, computers, application access? Yes, if they do, you're capturing this as we move through it. Have you set up their email? I have. What is that? And we can fill that in within here as well and submit this through. So each phase will move through, and you're seeing here that we're tracking who has been responsible for this, each action that's been taken. Obviously it's all my profile here, but you can see the date, timestamp as we move through each of these. So that is back to the presentation from earlier, moving through your onboarding tasks and ticking these off to say, hey, I as HR, I am coming in and saying I'm going to complete these requirements, and I will capture all of the information around pre-authorization, induction, probation, etc. within here. So I've captured all of that within the system. We'll also be able to, as part of records, capture reviews. So who has provided reviews on this particular freelancer? What kind of quality of work have they reviewed? The difference. And this, for example, is an out of 10 score, and overall we get your percentage likely to rehire coming back into here as well. So these freelancer records capture all that core information, your NDAs, etc. They can all live within here. The second part of, I suppose, as we spoke about, that once your freelancers they are all set up, you want them part of your core system. And one of the key areas for that is in resourcing, and that your resource planner, your core resource tool, and it can look something like this, where across all users, we see who's booked in, who's 100% resourced, who's overbooked, etc. So from here, we can see, our overall capacity. And as we spoke earlier around, this is where you start to see, okay, across all of my roles, for example, where have I got issues coming up? Where have I got, needs in terms of resourcing, etc. within here as well. So I get to see all of that from this point of view. So again, those pipeline projects that are coming through, you get to feed those in here and see whether or not freelancers are needed in the first place. If they are, and this is, we have the ability to come in here and say, okay, show me all of my freelancers only, for example, within here, and I can filter down and say, hey, we've got 4 freelancers in the system right now. Filter down, show me those, what are they working on within here. So from a freelancer point of view, they're very much integrated into your core system. You see them within the system. The final part of this is a freelancer coming into your core system. And you can see here, we could have campaigns and brand repository and all other kind of workflows, etc. going on within here. But if your freelancer needs to log into your system, I'm going to just log out and in as a freelancer in here. So I think I've got Jen set up. Their view of your tools can be very, very different. So it can look something like this, that as they click and say, hey, I'm going to log in, this is the exact same system, what they get is my assigned work. What is it you're giving me to do as a freelancer? And this can be queued up for them as they're coming into your organization, so that again, once they come in and log in the morning, the first morning they come in, they can see the workflows that have been assigned to them, see whether it's the assets that they need to work on, etc. All the information is here for them to, number one, to action within here, so they can come in and say, okay, I'm going to approve or request revisions or whatever it may be, depending on the actions available to them. The second major part of this is that they have access to their timesheets within here as well, so that they can come in and say, okay, show me what I've been assigned to. I'm going to fill in my timesheets, and that all links directly into your core project budgets. So again, you're not doing this in a siloed fashion where you're trying to manually write timesheets. I've heard some absolutely horror stories over the last couple of years on this, where timesheets are being done on a paper basis and then being input into finance systems separately as well. It can all be together in the one place. And this, again, back to that culture of making freelancers part of your organization, this is exactly how we can achieve that from within here. So that's very much around, I suppose, the freelancer side of things within here, and whether how it can fit into I suppose, a simple system. What I'm going to do is, I suppose, just open this up to any questions within here as well. So just open this back up to you guys. So maybe Fergal, coming back yourself on this, any questions come through as I've been speaking?
Hello everyone, thanks again for participating. I'm delighted to see that we have a few questions from the audience. If you asked a question but we don't get around to answering it live, don't worry, we'll follow up with you later this week individually. So let's get the ball rolling, Sean, with a question from Roy. On the resourcing view you showed, the freelancers are fully mixed in with full-time staff. In our current system, they are separated by role of freelancer. Is it possible to work in this way?
Okay, thanks, Fergal. Can you give me all the easy questions, please? Okay, first and foremost, yeah, and so on, obviously using a separate system, pretty eagle-eyed there. It's very deliberate, and first and foremost, we can work in that way. So if you wanted to give them the role of freelancer to be able to see capacity at that level, you can do it. From a system perspective, and I suppose from when we sit down and consult from a business point of view, we feel it's more important to give people the role that they're going to perform within here, so that if, for example, I've hired a freelancer project manager, that I know that my project management capacity has increased during that period, as opposed to actually looking at freelancers and trying to work out who is who, especially if you have quite a few hired, that can start to prove quite difficult. So short answer here is we can work in that way, but to date, I think once we sat down and really looked at this, people have worked in I suppose what I've just spoke around in terms of actually truly integrating them into the system.
Okay, great. The next question is from Hassa and is related to payments. Can you track payments made to freelancers within the system?
Thanks. Okay. So I suppose in terms of the financial side of things, we generally will integrate with the finance system, and for the most part, I suppose a tool like this that is handling project budgets, so your estimates, your resourcing and timesheet, is often integrated with a finance system anyway, to feed things such as client lists, rate cards, etc. Within there. So for the most part, we don't do invoicing within Screen Dragon. We can track from a workflow point of view to say, hey, this invoice has come in, I've uploaded it and marked it as approved from finance. That is possible in terms of a functionality, but to do the full financial suite, it's not something that we're doing right now.
Okay, and it looks like we have a third and final question from Marcello. And he asks, whose job is it to create the logins for freelancers to access this?
Okay. Thanks, Marcella. It is a couple of things. There's no straight answer to this. So it can be done directly in the system, where you can, the workflow itself can actually, if you've captured the correct details that we need, email, name, role, etc., we can do that automatically. For the most part, I think most organizations have an Active Directory and single sign-on, and will be, as part of onboarding freelancers, creating logins there. So for the most part, we would have an existing API in place with people's Active Directory that will automatically create you as users as they've been done by IT within there. So again, sorry, not a very, very straightforward answer, but the answer actually is a bit of both. We can do it directly in the system, or you can do it via the API if you're managing it from your Active Directory.
Okay, thanks for that, Sean. So it looks like that is all the questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay.
If anybody something in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. And cool. On that note, I'll hand it back to you, Sean.
Great, thanks for that. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, I'll come back to Jeanette in a moment and just leave her sign off from here. For myself, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to attend this, and I'm sure as Jeanette will cover, we'll send out the recording of this afterwards. If you want to contact us directly after this, feel free to reach out. We'll whether that's through our website or Twitter, wherever it is you want to reach out to ourselves, feel free. We'll be happy to engage with you directly as well. Jeanette, coming back to you, maybe to close out.
Yes, thank you very much, Sean. Very good webinar. Thank you, Fergal, as well. Well, we hope to see many of our attendees today at our next Creative Operations event in November, which is on the 6th of November in San Diego. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.